Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark with the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 2004 independent drama Takeout. Hey, that's not true at all. I'm trying to brighten your day. Takeout has a 100% fresh rating from the critics and a 73% fresh rating from the audience on Rotten Tomatoes, and I am reviewing every movie that has a 100% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Takeout is about a man named Ming Ping who has been smuggled from China to New York. His family lives in China and he's trying to raise money for them to send back to better their life and give them the kind of life that they deserve. But he is in a lot of debt to the people who smuggled him over. They are a bit of a loan shark where they have a really high percentage that they charge in interest, which you're not legally supposed to do. But he is an illegal immigrant, so like, what is he going to do about it, right? So he's told that he's late on his payments and that he has one night to make up $800 or they're going to double the amount that he owes them. So he's able to borrow most of the money from his friends and from his family, but there's still a good chunk of money that he owes. He works as a delivery boy for a Chinese restaurant in which he delivers takeout food on his bicycle. While talking to his friend who he also works with, his friend says, you can go ahead and take all of my deliveries if you want, so that you have all the deliveries for the night so that you can make up the money that you owe.
一天大家的消费最多才是90块，我的都给你送啊，什么我的今天都给你送啊，这样不太好吧？没关系啦，今天外卖都给你送了。
So Ming Ding decides to do this. He decides to take all the orders, all the deliveries, and the whole movie is basically his path to try to collect this money, to try to get this money that he owes. But along the way, he runs into a lot of what you would run into if you work in customer service. I worked in fast food for a long time, so the things that are happening to him are things that I encountered. So, he'll go and make a delivery and someone won't tip him, or someone will complain about their order, or they'll complain about how their order is always wrong, yet they still order from the same place even though the order is always wrong.
Beef, chicken, beef. Wait. Now, was that difficult? Alright, let me see.
He also has to ride his bike during a rainstorm. So he's really having a tough time. This is a tough life to live. You really see the emotion in him, and you see the terror that he might not actually be able to collect this money, the urgency that he has to collect this money, and at some point he almost feels like he's defeated, because how is he going to raise all this money by just having a job as a delivery boy? So as the night goes on, he gets closer and closer to what he's supposed to collect, but he realizes he's not getting as many tips and as high of a tips as he would expect. So talking to his friend Young, who is the one who gave him all his deliveries, Young says, you gotta smile, you gotta be courteous, you gotta say thank you whenever they give them the food and they give you the tip.
给你多一点，你要什么时候要跟他要笑。Thank you very much.
Go $3 right there.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
If you smile and if you're courteous, then you'll get better tips. You'll do a better job. But Ming Ding does not take this advice. He doesn't do this, but it's a funny part of the movie. It's a nice way to kind of lighten things up a bit, because the movie is a bit dire at points. You really feel for this guy, even though he is like an illegal alien, even though he, but he's trying to make a better life for him and for his family. And I really felt bad for this guy. Now, spoiler alert right here. So if you want to watch the movie, I'm going to destroy the ending. I'm not going to destroy. I'm going to tell you how the movie ends. So he ends up collecting enough money, and he's very relieved and he's very happy. And he decides to finish out his route, finish out the last few deliveries that he has to do. Now, at the same time, there's this other guy who works with Ming Ding who kind of sees that he is different in his mannerisms, that he's kind of down. He looks like he's kind of depressed. At one point, Ming Ding takes off his shirt and he sees like this big bruise on the back of his back. So this other coworker knows that something's going on, and he talks with Young and he says, like, is Ming Ding in trouble? Like, is there something, does he need money? Is there something that we can do to help him? Young doesn't provide him any information though, because I think he feels like it's not really his place to tell this coworker what's going on. It should really be Ming who tells him. So he doesn't tell him. He just kind of brushes him off. So after Ming Ding collects all this money, he just has it on him. He doesn't like have anyone hold it for him. He doesn't take it home or anything. He just has it in his pocket. And at the end of the movie, he ends up getting robbed on an elevator, and the people who rob him take all of his money. Now, this part is absolutely crushing for me. Like, I was so happy that he was able to collect this money and that he was able to get through it, because I honestly didn't know if he would. Like, I was hoping that he would, but, I mean, movies don't always end happily, so I was actually concerned and kind of, like, on the edge of my seat a little bit if he's actually going to be able to collect everything. But so he's robbed, and of course he breaks down and he cries and he just doesn't know what to do. He ends up not telling his friend Young. Young thinks that he still has the money, and he just kind of keeps it to himself. And now he's in this pit of despair because he doesn't know what he's going to do, how he's going. I mean, the night is over, his work is over, and now he has nothing to show for it. Then his friend, who kind of knew something was going on, he approaches him and he says, hey, look, I know something's going on. Just tell me how much money you need. And I've gone through this before. I also was like an immigrant and I had the same situation that you were in. So just tell me how much you need and I can get you the money, essentially is what he says. So we don't see it on screen. We don't actually hear Ming Ding tell him or ask him for help. But in the next scene, you see them both at an ATM and his friend is pulling out money from an ATM. So, you know, it's known that his friend was able to get him the money. And that's basically the movie. That's the movie in a nutshell. So I went to this movie. One of my friends who I did a podcast with called the Film Pigeons Podcast probably 10, 11 years ago, absolutely hated this movie. We brought it up at one point. I think he brought it up as one of his least favorite movies of all time because he said nothing happens. It's just about a guy delivering takeout food. I want to know maybe if he wants to revisit this movie at some point. Sometimes when I revisit movies I didn't like, I end up really liking them. That is true with The Lady Eve, where I absolutely hated The Lady Eve when I first watched it, and when I watched it the second time, I had no idea why I hated it, because it was such a great movie. But I would invite him to watch this movie again, because I thought it was a really well done movie. First of all, it's an independent movie, and for an independent movie that's on a shoestring budget where they don't have a lot of money, the acting is really, really good. Whereas if you take something like there was another movie I reviewed, Multiple Maniacs, which was also on a shoestring budget, where the acting was absolutely pitifully bad. But in this movie, it's really good acting. The cinematography is fantastic, and they actually are going to a real Chinese restaurant in the movie when it's like during its busy time and during its during their hours of operation, when they show them in the Chinese restaurant, because they didn't have any money to do any sets or anything, so they were just actually allowed to use a real Chinese restaurant for this. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that even though you don't have the money to you don't have the money, you're still able to create your art and create it the way that you want to create it. And I thought they did a really, really good job. They do a fantastic job for you actually having feelings and caring about this character. At first, I didn't think I was going to care anything about him, but towards the end of the movie, I was really in his corner. I was really rooting for him. I really wanted him to get this done, to get the money and to pay off what he owed for that night. I was really rooting for him, and they did a fantastic job with his character, and even the character of his friend. The character of his friend Young is also endearing. He doesn't have a lot of lines, but you can actually tell he really cares about his friend, and he cares about his friend's well-being, so much so that he is willing to give him his deliveries, even though he also has a loan. He says he's almost done paying off his loan, so he doesn't think he needs the money for that night. But the fact that he's willing to give his friend his deliveries, I thought was fantastic. And then at the end of the movie, I really didn't see him. I didn't see it coming until two people entered the elevator with him, and I thought, oh God, he's going to get robbed right here. And then once it happened, I was honestly devastated with him. Like, my emotions matched his emotions throughout the entire movie. I was also devastated with him as well, and I actually forgot that he had a friend who was asking about him and who was going to maybe come in and help him and save him. All around, though, I thought this movie was really well done. The story is simple, which is good for me because I've admitted before when I did like the Maltese Falcon on this show that if the movie is too complex, I have a hard time with it. I'm okay with saying that. The Maltese Falcon, it took me a few watches to even like kind of understand everything that was going on and all the characters and all the plots and subplots and everything. But for this kind of movie, it's just a movie where you can watch it, enjoy it. You don't have to think too much, and I really like that. My only dock on this movie is the pacing. It does pace a little bit slow at some times. He does, like, when he's doing his deliveries, I don't know, maybe, I mean, obviously you have to show that he did a lot of deliveries throughout the night so that could collect this money, and you have to show, like, how different people react to him making these deliveries, how you have to deal with different types of people and different personalities, and how it's not an easy job to do because you have to deal with people. But I don't know, I felt like maybe he went to too many houses. Like, it could have been summed up a little bit better. That has to do with the pacing also. But anyway, I thought this was a really good movie. I went into it thinking I wouldn't like it because my friend Jason didn't like it, but I thought it was good, and I give it an 8 out of 10. I hope you join me for my next review, which is going to be 2004 foreign film, Live in Maid. Thank you. Have a great day.